from African Wood Incorporated, a consultancy company based in Wilmington, Delaware, that offers consultancy in organizational structure and behavior and entrepreneurship. We're continuing on our series of problem-centric entrepreneurship. In previous videos, we dealt with the whole concept of problem-centric entrepreneurship, and then we dealt with problem identification. And in summary, I'll tell you that problem-centric entrepreneurship involves identifying a problem, identifying who owns the problem, identifying whether the people who own the problem are able and willing to pay for a solution, then identifying how they are dealing with the problem currently, finding out who else could come into the market to offer a solution when you do, and then finding out whether you can be able to provide, organize, provide and deliver a solution to the prospect. In this video, we are going to deal with who owns the problem, identifying who owns the problem, because we have already dealt with the general concept of problem-centered entrepreneurship, and in another video we have dealt with the identification of the problem. So we take it from here, making an assumption that you have the general concept understood, the concept of problem-centric entrepreneurship, which means that you're getting into business to solve a problem of society. In return, they will pay you for your solution. So you identify a problem, you create a solution, or you find a solution, you give it to society, they pay you back. So this is not entrepreneurship where you do what you love. You do what the society needs, and they pay you in return. After you have identified the problem, now you have to narrow down to who basically owns the problem. And who owns the problem comes in twofold. There may be a problem in society with a certain group of people, but the person who needs the problem solved may not be the person who has it. So the user of your service may not be the payer. So, and the decision maker of whether your service or your product or your solution will be bought is split between the person who's going to use it and the person who's going to pay. Sometimes we're lucky to find that the person who has the problem is also the person who pays. But sometimes the person who has the problem may be a minor, may not be able to make a decision, or may not have the resources to buy a solution, or the problem may be so large that it requires every person in the community to chip in so that it can be paid. Say like a problem of trash collection. Trash collection is a community problem. It's an individual problem as well as a community problem. If you want your neighborhood to be clean, you cannot just clean your compound or your house. Or you need to make sure that you involve everybody else so that the environment around the community is clean. So in that case, the problem of trash is universal in the community, but one person cannot make a decision to buy a service and pay for it. So the whole community has to come together and pay for the service. So when you are looking at who owns the problem, like if the problem is trash, okay, everybody in the community has trash to be collected. But one person may not necessarily be able to solve that problem by just paying for a service to come and collect trash in their home. So as a provider of trash, you need to deal with a bigger entity than an individual. Or if it's a problem of, let's go back to our example of Airbnb. Airbnb solves the problem of organizing extra capacity in homes, in private homes. So the people who have the problem or who have the problem are those are every homeowner who has more house than they can use and who would like to monetize the extra capacity. But not every one of them will sign up. So you have to be able to know the whole population or people who could sign up, but narrow down to those who will sign up, because those who will sign up are very important to your cash flow. So I think that the whole population of those who could sign up or who could be your customers and those who will be your customers, you need to know that. And you need to segregate them either in age, in gender, in education, in all the segments that will affect people using your solution to their problem. Identifying that population, first the population of who could be the user or who could use your service or your solution, and then those who will use. It's important and crucial because you need to make a projection of how many people or how much of your solution you sell. So because you need to reduce that to numbers, and before you do the pricing, to know whether it's worthy your effort supplying supplying this solution to the problem you have identified. So, who owns the problem is key. And you have to think in terms of those who have it and those who want it solved. And that will affect the decision makers you approach. if you're selling children's clothes, obviously you may target the children so that they like what they're bought for, or they can influence their parents to buy. But you also have to target the parents who are going to pay, who are going to buy. So if you are selling men's shoes, the population that can use your shoes are all men in society, depending on the size you're supplying. But the people who will make the decision are those people, are those in the family who make the buying decisions. So who is the user and who owns the problem? The person who owns the problem to you, the entrepreneur, is actually the person who makes the decision to buy your solution. And those are key to your success. The decision makers, the one who decide that there's a problem here and it needs to be solved, and they expend their money to do that. But you also have to work to ensure that the end user of the service likes it and prefers it, the service or the solution or the item. So even if the buyer, the decision maker, decides on one day to buy your solution, if the end user does not like it, then there will be no repeat buys. So you have those balancing act to do to make sure that both the end user of your solution and the person who makes the decision to acquire the solution, both are aligned with your solution, so that they can buy, or one can buy and the other one can use. If the buyer and the user are the same, your problem may be a little solved. But if the user and the buyer are different, you have to be able to identify and target your messages and your product such that you don't lose your market. So it's from identifying the problem to identifying who owns it and figuring it out, who is the final end user and who is going to make the decision to buy. That's key. You are segmenting this market into the users and the decision makers. For you as an entrepreneur to decide the volume of supply, you need to deal with end users, the potential end users. But when you are selling, you also need to target the decision makers so that they are with you all the way and they know that the solution you are providing is meeting the needs of the end users, and that when they expend their resources, it will solve the problem. So it's a little complicated, but it's something that you have to do on paper before you put any resources down towards the endeavor. Action is always exciting, but sometimes staying still is more profitable than appearing to move when you are moving in a direction you shouldn't be moving. Meaning, you need need to sit down and plan. Go through the questions one by one and work it on paper. Make sure you understand the problem. Make sure you understand who owns it. Make sure you understand who is the end user of your solution and who will make the decision to buy. They may be one and the same people, or they may be different people. If you are delivering things that are used in homes, obviously you are going to target the person who makes the decision to make purchase in the home. But if what you deliver is not liked by the end users, then you will lose repeat sales and your business will not thrive. So you have to take care of these people. You have to make sure that your solution delivers its merchantability. It does what it says it's going to do and does it well. So the end users demand it, and then the people who buy will buy it. But if you convince the buyers to buy it, and then the end user find that it doesn't do what it says it's going to do, then you just lost your business. So, on your journey in entrepreneurship, you need to have a very clear picture of who you are working for. You should have a picture in your hand of, if you are given a lot of people in a crowd, you should pick out the person whose problem you're solving. And you should know, you should say this one is the user and this one is the payer. Just have it in your mind so that you know. You don't broadcast your message or don't broadcast your planning. Because at the end of the day, one person buys, one person uses what you're going to do. Even if it's a community use, like I said, trash collection, at the end of the day, you will pick from one home. And if they are dissatisfied, dissatisfaction spreads. If you are organizing excess capacity, like in the case of Uber, instead of Airbnb, if one of the people who signed up doesn't get paid properly, or you don't vet your clients properly, then you lose your market. So know the people who own your problem and know the people who want that problem solved. They may be one and the same person, or they may be different people. But knowing them and being able to define specifically. Sometimes it's tough in the sense that the demographic factors that you use to segregate your buyers and users, sometimes they are used negatively in life. So you need to be careful, but you cannot, suppose you're selling something, you're selling a service, and it's basically normally used by recent immigrants from Africa or from Mexico. That's fine. If you know that that's true, and that's your market, you segregate it like that. But if the culture of your organization becomes using that to negatively affect the people who you started serving, then that becomes a problem. So, as it happens in life, every good thing is double-edged. And segregation, market segregation, segmentation is the same thing. You need to know whether you are targeting young people or older people. Like in the United States, people who are retirement age, or people who are below 13. Sometimes we target them and we use it negatively. And that's one thing that we have to be careful when we're doing segmentation and segregation of market, that we don't abuse the information we get. And putting that in your organization as you start, make sure that you put safeguards in place so that people's data that you use for that particular purpose is not abused. These landmines is like any journey you start, there's a danger and there's a vulnerability. You may not be able to control the danger, but you may control your vulnerability to that danger so that you don't increase your risk. So, as an entrepreneur, being aware of what can go wrong is important for you. So, for today, we discussed clearly defining who owns the problem you are trying to solve. And we said the end user may be the person who makes the decision to buy, or there may be an end user and a decision maker. And you need to be able to identify both. The decision maker who makes a decision that that solution need to be found, and the end user who uses it. Sometimes they're the same person, sometimes they are not. But having being clear-eyed about who you are going to serve will help you succeed in your business. And as an entrepreneur, be always aware that human beings have a way of finding ways of making a good thing a bad thing. So as you use the data to segment your market and decide who is the user and who is the payer, you need to learn and put in place systems that safeguard you against your organization misusing that data and using it negatively. With that, I will stop here in this video. I hope that you are able to get something from it, and I will encourage you to subscribe to my channel, because we will continue this series until we finish, and then we'll start on another one. And I will really appreciate you coming along with me and making suggestions in the comment section so that we can know how else we can contribute to your entrepreneurship journey and your management journey in organization structure and behavior. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Dr. David Frederick Amakobe. I come to you from African Wood Incorporated. We are a consulting company based in Wilmington, Delaware, and we offer these services to people, organizations, most likely organizations in Africa and in the United States. Thank you very much. We will see you in the next one.